Everyone, this is Skinny Dicks for Devour as we talk about Nick Cannon leaving, being wild out. Well, first thing first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Devour here on Connect, and don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe when it's caring. Thank you all for watching Devour this week as we talk about Nick Cannon on CBS, wild him out. Well, Nick Cannon, a lone fixture on TV for over the past 25 years, gets himself in trouble after making anti-Semitic remarks about Jews on a podcast. Take a look.
Oh, let's go to what it really is then. When we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as guys, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what Dr. Francis C. Welsing talked about is that fear and that
genetic annihilation
deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less, and where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear, they're acting out of low self-esteem, they're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality that they're coming out of Europe. They then said, in order for us to survive, we have to take what's not ours. And then they went into the land that actually where we are originated. And instead of trying to make friends, they said, we want what you got. Because there's this mentality of whether it's the Caesars or even that we have to conquer.
Right.
So I say all that to say the context, and when we speak of whether it's Jewish people, white people, Europeans, the Illuminati, they were doing that as survival tactics to stay on this planet.
Right, because
we never had to do that.
Right, because they've learned when they circumnavigated the globe and they ran into these islands and these places, and we were already there to greet them.
Right. With open arms.
With open arms, teaching them, but they
were deficient.
They were deficient, so they wanted to get what they thought we had, and we did have it. So the rape took place of the woman. The theft took place of the natural resources.
And then that's when their disease,
exactly,
that's where their mentality, because I'm trying to get to that place of how they were able to get control over the gods. How they were able to get control over their
once they
original
learned that, though, and now they raped and impregnated, left and came back, and they saw the child lighter, they said, wow, that's when they learned genetics. Genetic annihilation. So now you have to set up a system of white supremacy to control that.
Right.
So now we have 13 families here, Illuminati that's manipulating and controlling. Subgroups. Now we got to set up organizations.
Coming out of Europe.
You understand what I'm saying? And for that same system, now you're talking about survival, what you just laid out. Now it's fight or flight. Now we have to set up these systems in order to survive.
Right.
But listen, not just survive to get some damn some hamburger buns and some cheese. I'm talking about on a genetic level.
On the genetic, because they will, and that's even from the white nationalists to the white supremacy mentalities to Donald Trump himself wanting to build walls.
Right.
They're trying to keep what they consider purity.
Exactly, on a subconscious level. Because sometimes they don't know why they acting out.
It's just been proven. It was National Geographic just put it out by 2050. Every person will be a person of color.
In a minute.
They saying that's as soon as 2050.
Nick Cannon making the somewhat didn't know decision to talk about Jews and how that was going to affect, and he got exited out of his departure at Viacom CBS out his job. Viacom CBS, who owns most of those Nick Cannon shows, including Wild 'N Out, Teen Nick, and a lot of other shows, decided to pull the plug on Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon was an executive for Teen Nick, and he was providing content for MTV, VH1, and then MTV2 for Wild 'N Out. That was his $1 billion brand. Well, Nick Cannon loses that $1 billion brand, unfortunately, due to those remarks. Well, Nick Cannon tried to refute those claims and tried to apologize, but it was too little too late. So Nick Cannon got some people that still support him. Fox still support him, so he will remain on the Fox Max Singer show and Fox specials. So Nick Cannon got a job right there on Fox. Also, Nick Cannon was supposed to develop a television show for daytime TV. They decided that they're going to keep Nick Cannon as well. So Nick Cannon was supposed to debut in the fall, but he will debut next year in fall 2021 for Nick Cannon daytime talk show. So Nick Cannon he might lost one job at CBS, gained some on Fox. So Nick Cannon kind of got to watch what he say going forward. Also, let's hear, and we're craving to see what you people had to say out there about Nick Cannon losing his job at Viacom CBS and no longer the host of Wild 'N Out. Let's take a look at what you people had to say with this.
Welcome back. I wanted to talk about Nick Cannon for a bit. I was kind of seeing his Twitter, and I saw that, I know he sounded a little bit suicidal, talking about, you guys could have this plan and I'm out. That sounds a little bit suicidal, brother. I don't know what you got going on, man, but go ahead and forget all that, man. Forget all that. First of all, that's silly. That's silly. Don't let that even float in your head. But I know what you're feeling, to an extent. I know what you're feeling. I was in the same situation you was in, and I wasn't making nearly as much money as you was making. Hold on, let me make sure I share this on Facebook so y'all can hear me talk this shit. Not really gonna be talking shit, but yeah, I was in a similar situation like you. Similar situation, and I felt like trash once I did some sucker shit like apologizing. But I was working at BP in Houston, and this fucking bald-headed, dry scalp, no edges having bitch basically accused me of freaking threatening her at work. And there was like 3 or 4 people in the room. Long story short, my boss came to me and told me that I needed to apologize to her because it's not what happens, what she perceived to happen. Now, when she told me I had to apologize, I was like, man, fuck, I was getting ready to quit the motherfucking job. I was literally getting ready to quit the job. I said, I'll be damned if I'm gonna fucking apologize to this bitch over some shit I didn't do. I was actually thinking of going to that office and cuss the bitch out. But I think this is how you got cut up, Nick. I really believe this is how you got cut up. You know why I apologize? It's not because I wanted to. It's the motherfuckers I had around me. I was dating a chick at the time, and I'm gonna keep telling the story about this chick. I ain't gonna put a bit business out there, but I was dating a chick at the time, and she gave me this corporate ass Negro talking about that's part of the job. That's the part about working about corporate America. And that was the reason why I apologize. Man, Nick, I felt this fucking small when I apologized to that girl. I was ashamed of myself. I really was. It was no different than I would be straight up. I felt I was butt broken in a slave plantation. That's exactly how I felt. And I knew the reason I did it is because I let this fucking girl influence my decision. I let her influence my decision. I knew I shouldn't have done it. But that's what the excuse I used was her. And I believe you got a bunch of sucker niggas around you because first you went hard and you doubled down on your statement talking about you wanted an apology, But I believe them people you got around you was the one that convinced you. That was the path of least resistance, and you took it. And that's when you feel like shit. You took the path of least resistance. The same thing I did. I wasn't making millions. I was making $60,000 a year. I could have made that I could have went somewhere else and got that money. But I was so ashamed of myself that I let this girl freaking, well, that's the shit. I didn't let her. I used her as a crutch or why I needed to apologize to this funky bitch. Fast forward, the next job I got, I was still talking to this girl. The next job I got, same situation, but this time I'm working for a white Mexican. Anybody who live in Houston, they know what I'm talking about a white Mexican. I was working for this white Mexican. This motherfucker stayed on my back, micromanaging me. And I was just so fed up with this motherfucker. Again, they basically asked me to do some sucker shit. I didn't do it. I get an email from my boss, and I showed it to this girl again. She was like, well, you know, that's part of corporate. I said, nah, this shit ain't gonna happen for a second time again. Fuck that. Nigga, I took my phone, I left my phone, my computer, I left everything on that desk and I walked out the fucking office. Ain't no fucking way I'm finna fucking do such sucker shit like that twice. As bad as I felt the first time, I left that place, I didn't know where I was gonna work, I didn't know nothing. But one thing I refused to do is be a sucker for a second time. Because I felt so fucking small when I apologized to that girl, man. I felt so small because I knew I took the path of least resistance. Those motherfuckers you got around you, man, don't ask them for no advice, man. They're gonna tell you sucker shit. You knew what you should have done. You knew you should just stuck to your guns and moved on. You ain't get to your position, Nick, by being a sucker, nigga. You ain't become Nick Cannon by just freaking, no, nigga, you could go out here and get it. And you know that. That's another reason why I felt bad, because I know I could go out here and get it. What the fuck am I kowtowing to these motherfuckers? You didn't get to your position by being a bitch, by just freaking taking whatever you want. You got to your position because you did it a certain way. Don't be, hey, what happened? You disappointed yourself, you disappointed a lot of people, but really don't worry about people right now. You disappointed yourself. That's bad enough. You disappointed yourself. So don't sit here and wish that you didn't do it. Don't go this freaking pity-patty. Oh, I disappointed a whole lot of people and my people turned on me. Stop. That's sucker talk, nigga. That's sucker talk. That's bitch-made talk. And you ain't made like that. That's bitch-made talk. Now that you know how this feels, I want you to remember how this shit feels, because I didn't forget. I want you to remember how terrible, how small you feel right now. Because it's going to happen again, brother. It's going to happen again. They're going to test you again. What you going to do then? Because this just happened. But if you think this is going to be the last time, it's going to happen again. It happened to me the next 2 jobs I had. And both of them, I quit one and I got fired the other one. But I ain't going out like no bitch. I tell you that right now. It was no apologizing. It was no, yes sir, no. I'm not going to feel the way I felt when I was in fucking BP when I freaking apologized to this bald-headed, no edge, dry scalp, nappy kitchen, nobody wants your ashy foot, dirty ass bitch. I ain't never going to feel like that again. Fire me. Well, I'm never going back to the plantation. But I want you to remember exactly how you felt. Remember it, because it's going to happen again. I know it is. You know it, I know it. And if you don't know it, I'm letting you know it's going to happen again. And nigga, if you fall for the same shit again for the second time, now I'm going to look at you funny. Now I'm going to have to question you. I'm not questioning you right now, nigga. I think you dove in the deep end of the pool and you didn't realize shit. You can't swim. You swim. I think that's what happened. Black people ain't turning on you. I think they're disappointed, more or less. But I ain't turning on you. I just heard her say somebody, you got caught up. Because I know what I know the feeling. I know the feeling when you do something you know you should have not done. And I know you know it. Because you really try to come out here with your guns. But what you gonna do the second time it happens? That's what I want to see. Peace.
All right, on to some entertainment news. How many of you saw the Nick Cannon stuff? What's his name again, Aaron? We have Muhammad Cannon. What's the other one? Or we have Nick Ali appearing on the show here. Nick Cannon smears Jews and calls white people true savages. Play the video.
It comes with soul that we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us.
Right.
So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are
not
careful
enough,
less.
Nikki.
And where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low
pause that
self-esteem.
for just 1 second. Leave it on the screen. Notice what the gesture behind him. Everybody see that right behind him? What is that? Who else does that look like? That's black. There you go. Put it on, if you guys can flip it. There you go. What's the other one? There you go. Any difference? Everybody seeing the connection? Everybody see the agenda? Go ahead, start it back up. Thank you, guys. Now we're back on me.
Out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality.
There you go. And that's Hollywood for you. I mean, does he really believe that? Yeah, he probably does. There's other people that really don't believe it, but they'll back him up anyway so they don't lose their jobs and that they can virtue signal all over the TV. Cannon also praised the vile Jew hater Louis Farrakhan, as you heard, and defended his decision to host anti-Jewish guest Richard Griffin. Cannon said that black people are the true Semitic race. A Viacom CBS spokesman denounced Cannon's anti-Semitic statements, but not the anti-white ones. CBS, major problem with the anti-Semitic comments, no problem whatsoever with the anti-white ones. And here's the deal I want you to know. I'm not pro-white or pro-black. I'm pro-who cares? That's what I'm pro. I don't care what the melanin content of your skin is. Who cares? That's what I'm for. Remember, let's all start a movement. Who cares? Here's what CBS said. We are deeply troubled that Nick has failed to acknowledge or apologize for perpetuating anti-Semitism. Never said one word about his racism. And we are terminating our relationship with him, the spokesman said. But they did fire him. I'll give him that. I am deeply saddened. Here's Cannon's response. In a moment so close to reconciliation. What planet does this idiot live on? In a moment so close to reconciliation? Who exactly are you reconciling with? Nikki? Who exactly is it? And by the way, Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, offered him a job right after he got fired. Oh gosh, what is going on in this world?
This is Adam Gillette with Accuracy in Media, and this week we saw something truly outrageous. The charming Nick Cannon from The Masked Singer and previously from America's Got Talent went on his podcast and said horribly anti-Semitic things. He praised Louis Farrakhan, basically. He even said statements about white people, saying that white people are a little less, closer to animals, and the true savages. He said white people are acting out of a deficiency, so the only way they can act is evil. I don't want you to tweet hate at him. I don't want you to demand that he be canceled. Use the Action Alert link on this page, and you can send a message directly to his agents, managers, and publicists. With one message, you could tell them how you feel about their racist client. If we go and attack Nick Cannon, he's merely going to get defensive and dig in his heels. But if instead we make it clear to the people he respects that racism is not acceptable in America, regardless of the race that you hate, perhaps we have a chance to actually have influence with them. Use the Action Alert on this page with one message. You can send an email to his agents, managers, and publicists. Tell them that racism is not tolerable, anti-Semitism is not tolerable, and you want him to explain his actions and what he's going to do to correct himself. Again, this is Adam Gillette with Accuracy in Media. Find us online at aim.org. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I hope you'll take action today.
Child, Nick Cannon got fired faster than a can of Raid kills a cockroach.
Yet they still haven't arrested the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. Make it make sense to me, please.
Some white people pick and choose what they want to cancel and be mad about.
So let me get this straight. Donald Trump gets to keep his job and Nick Cannon loses his. Can someone explain that to me?
Oh, to be privileged and pasty, it must be really nice to pick and choose the morals and values you choose to follow. I don't agree with Nick Cannon's anti-Semitic behavior, but it's not fair across the board.
I don't understand why Black Twitter is mad that Nick Cannon apologized.
Well, they're calling him a sellout for apologizing. Black Twitter is always mad about something. You Black Americans need to be mad that y'all's president only sent y'all $1,200 stimulus checks, and some of y'all ain't even gotten that yet. This is a rich Black person's problem, but let's ask the petty audience what they think. Do y'all think that Nick Cannon should have been fired for his anti-Semitic comments? Comment below.
When we're dealing with the Caucasian that have no soul, you have to understand in order to possess the cosmic essence, you have to have melanin, a specific component of melanin, being neuromelanin, the one with the N, not the E. Caucasians only have pheomelanin, which is animal melanin. They cannot get above the animal plane conscious level. You see animals kill, a lion will kill you and don't lose no sleep. A gorilla will kill you, don't lose no sleep. A cobra will kill you, don't lose no sleep. The Caucasian is killing us and don't lose no sleep because they are physically composed of the same melanin phenotype of animals. They do not have the neuromelanin, which is manifested within the neuromelanin nerve tract of the brain that allows you to connect to what you call God, the creator, whatever you identify with God as, and possess a conscience. White people do not have no conscience. Now, why is this important? Because the pineal gland is crucial to the soul. The soul enters the body through the pineal gland. So, if your door is locked, you can't get in your house. 85% of Caucasians have calcified pineal glands, and they also lack neuro and uromelanin. So now, why is this important? 85% of Caucasians have no gland within their brain that allows your soul to enter the body. So there is a level of, let's say, spirit that they can never access. They can never access the higher self. 85% of Caucasians, and I believe the number is way higher, but we're dealing with scientific statistics that they document that can be researched and referenced. Right. 85% of Caucasians their vehicles cannot intake a soul. They have calcified pineal glands. The door to the body has been shut. And even if they did, they don't have neuromelanin. Neuromelanin is called neuromelanin because it has neurons. It has neurons that allow your thoughts to actually exit through the pineal gland and connect with the realm, the ether realm, non-ether. When you hear people make these statements for cosmic melanin, and this is how you manifest, this is how you pray, this is how you connect to the creator. So even if the Caucasian doesn't have a calcified pineal gland, they have no neuromelanin. So their thoughts can't connect to the creator. They have no cosmic affiliation. They have no cosmic soul.
Then when we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as guys, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what, Dr. Francis C. Welsing talked about is that fear and that
genetic annihilation,
deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less. And where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality.
Nick, somebody get Nick Cannon on the phone right now and tell Nick Cannon to call me. Listen up here, Nick Cannon, and listen closely. Look at me when I'm talking to you, okay? You are part of the problem in this country. Nick, did you hear me? Didn't I say, look at me when I'm talking to you? Listen up. You are part of the problem in this country. You are one of the ones keeping racism alive. Now, I don't know where you went to school, but it sounds like you went to the University of Keeping Racism Alive. It sounds like you have your PhD in keeping racism alive. So listen up here, Dr. Racist. Stop teaching that crap. Cut it out. You know you wrong. You know you foul. You know you spread hate. Shut that mess down. How dare you? How dare you get on here and say all white people are scared of black people? Boy, what are you talking about? Do you not know how dumb you sound? Huh? That sounds so dumb. You sound so racist and so dumb. It just don't make no sense. You are the definition of a black supremacist, Nick Cannon. All white people are scared of black people. Do we really have to talk about this? Okay? Listen, majority of the people in this country are not scared of somebody because of the color of their skin. But people are scared of dangerous people. Okay? Listen, I'm black. And I'm scared of dangerous black people. I'm scared of dangerous white people. I'm scared of dangerous brown people. I'm scared of dangerous people, regardless of what color they are. Okay? Nobody is scared of somebody because of the color of their skin, really. People are just scared of bad people. And bad people come in all colors. So stop making everything about race. And then, hold on. Don't go nowhere. I'm not done with you, Nick Cannon. Sit your butt down and continue to listen to me. You know you wrong for sitting up here calling white people animals. Do you not know if a white person was to call a black person an animal? Oh, it'll be all over the news. 4, 5, and 9. Breaking news. It'll be all over CNN and MSNBC. But you gonna sit up here and call white people animals? Do you not know how racist you sound and how ignorant you sound? We have young people on the internet listening to this crap. Stop teaching this mess. Nick, stop it. Because you know what? Like I said before, you work for a network that's ran by white people. White people cut your check. But you want to sit up here and tell me I have to hate white people? But you love when the white man cut you a check? Oh, yeah, you love that. You ain't got nothing to say about that. And then you have the nerve to quote Farrakhan. But no wonder why you a black racist. Because you listen to Farrakhan. Don't nobody care what Farrakhan gotta say. We don't respect him. Get it together, Nick. Get it together.
Entertainment, sports. It's the front page on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show.
All right, y'all, that is y'all 11 minutes after the hour. Even this morning, we got the one and only Euro. Euro, good morning.
Good morning, Ricky. Here's a check of our front page news. The U.S. lost 2 civil rights icons this past weekend. Representative John Lewis and activist Reverend C.T. Vivian spent their lives fighting for racial justice and equality. Democratic leaders are going to meet today to consider a nominee for that congressional seat left vacant by Representative Lewis. Coronavirus cases are still rising across 40 states in the U.S. The CDC updated its guidelines on when people can stop isolating after they've been exposed to COVID-19, and it's gone from 14 to 10 days. In other news, tens of thousands of workers in more than 25 cities are expected to walk off of the job today in what's being called the Strike for Black Lives. Now, this is in honor of George Floyd. The workers are going to strike for roughly 8 minutes in protest of systemic racism and economic inequality. Breonna Taylor's mom has filed a lawsuit, and in it says that Breonna was actually alive about 5 to 6 minutes after police shot her, but no one rushed to her aid. And in Georgia, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who's facing a lawsuit from the governor over her mask mandate, says that as part of the lawsuit, Kemp is trying to block her from speaking to the press. Hot mess. That's a check of your front page news. Rock T, what's going on in sports?
Well, let's start off with the NFL, man. They're leaving it up to individual teams as to how many, if any, fans can attend games this season. The Las Vegas Raiders are leaning toward having no fans. Matter of fact, many of the big star players are speaking out, still very concerned and scared about trying to play football this season with COVID-19 still out there, of course. Quarterback Russell Wilson tweeted himself, "Listen, I'm concerned, but my wife is pregnant. We still want to play football, but very concerned." In the meantime, Major League Baseball is discussing how many ways that they can support and incorporate social justice elements into their sport. And last but not least, James Harden is getting dragged for wearing a Blue Lives Matter alleged handkerchief or mask over his face yesterday. So he's explaining what that was, but they kind of dragging him a little bit across social media. So I got more on that coming up next hour in the sports report. So stay tuned for that. Garrett with the T, what's going on there, man?
All right, y'all, we are still praying for Nick Cannon, y'all. Now, Nick Cannon recently apologized, y'all, to the Jewish community for calling black people the true Hebrews, y'all, on his Cannon Class podcast while discussing conspiracy theories about the Rothschild banking family and the origins of white people with former Public Enemy guy member Professor Grip. Well, y'all, now Nick meltdown, honey. He had a meltdown, and it's very sad. He said, y'all, quote, he said, "I hurt an entire community, and it pained me to my core." He said, "I thought it couldn't get any worse. Then I watched my own community turn on me and call me a sellout for apologizing." He said, "Good night, enjoy Earth." Wow. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty, like, damn if you do and damn if you don't.
Exactly. I mean, blessed spiritual. I mean, you know, he called himself trying to speak up for black people and stuff, and, you know, black people like, really? You just sold out because you apologize. So what do you do? I mean, I don't know. Yeah. But we just got to keep him lifted up in prayer, y'all, and see how this all turned out, because it's becoming very crazy, y'all.
Insensitive.
Exactly. So, you know, I guess he said to hell with y'all, but then, you know, he was allegedly talking about committing suicide, and I know one of his friends committed suicide this past weekend. So it's just a lot going on, y'all. We're going to have to follow these stories. The color today is one of my favorite colors. My color today, y'all, is passion fruit. On the high end, you say passion fruit, and on the low end, you say beautiful yellow. That's your color for today. Now, Brad, what's going on with Kanye West?
Oh, Lord. He got something to say about Harriet Tubman, and he got something to say about abortion. I'm going to tell you all about it in the hot spot coming up next, y'all. It's the Ricky Smiley Morning Show.
for those of you out there that have watched Dwayne Wade, and you'll soon be seeing him enter the Hall of Fame because he's one of the great guards to have ever played the game of basketball. I have religiously said on these airwaves, I don't give a damn what he was as a basketball player. It is nothing compared to what he is as a human being. Dwayne Wade is one of the most special brothers you will ever find in your life. He doesn't have a hateful bone in his body. I've known him for years, and I'm telling you what I know about this guy. He has a daughter that is a part of the LGBTQ community. We all know about that story. Plus, he's a black man. So if there's anybody that has experienced hate and is biased and has elevated their level of sensitivity to such issues, it would be somebody like him. There is nothing to excoriate or to crucify Dwayne Wade about. He highlighted and illuminated the fact that there was a level of understanding that he might not have had about what Nick Cannon specifically alluded to. But his support of Nick Cannon, I think it's important to understand, because he's not the only person that has come out, whether publicly or privately, to support Nick Cannon. A lot of folks in the African-American community are coming to Nick Cannon's support. It's not for his words that may have been anti-Semitic. Again, I don't know what he said. But what they made sure to point out in terms of their support for him is that they have a real big-time problem with this reality, Max Kellerman. In the aftermath of the George Floyd killing, what did folks outside of the black community religiously talk about? We're listening. We hear you. We want to have a conversation. So if you truly, truly are sincere in that, why is it that the second somebody steps out of pocket, we adopt the, as you would say, Max, the cancel culture, as opposed to adopting the counseling culture?
This seems nowhere clearer than in a recent broadcast by Nick Cannon. You remember Nick Cannon? Nick Cannon is an actor. He's a musician, sort of. He's been a pop culture figure for decades at this point. Nick Cannon decided to broadcast yesterday, not on even his radical left ideology, you know, like when we think of Marxism or something, Maoism, something like that. He broadcast on a radical left racial ideology. The mirror image of the Nazi, KKK, Ku Klux Klan, you know, the thing the left is always talking about. We got to get rid of racism. We need anti-racism. Well, it turns out their anti-racism so often is just the mirror image, just as bad, only directed against the other guy. Nick Cannon preached about the power of melanin.
Let's go to what it really is then. When we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as guys, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what, Dr. Francis C. Welsing talked about, is that fear and that
genetic annihilation,
deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less, and where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan.
Okay, there we go. Now my eyes go up. This is Minister Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan is a complete degenerate. He's a black racial identitarian. He espouses horrifically heretical views on religion, and his religion is grounded primarily in race. We've heard this kind of thing before. You remember when Nicholas Sandmann, that Covington kid who was going down to the pro-life rally with his Catholic high school, and he was just standing on the National Mall minding his own business. He had a hat that said "Make America Great Again," hat that is promoted by the President of the United States. And this group of kids was heckled by a group of black supremacists called the Hebrew Israelites. And they were screaming all sorts of terrible things at him. And then that crazy Native American dude walked up to him and started banging a drum in his face. Kid behaved very well and was destroyed in the press. And by the press, and he's won a lot of judgments against them. We've heard this sort of thing before from people we would call cultural Marxists in the academy. There was one Professor Jeffries, this was decades ago, who had a theory of the sun people and the ice people. The sun people were black people who got, all the nice warm rays of the sun, and the ice people, those were white people. They were less than, as Nick Cannon is saying. Now, I, being Sicilian, I think I get a nice little middle ground here, a little more melaninated, but this is a patently absurd theory, isn't it? And it's merely used, without any basis in science or history. It is used as a way to put down a group of people on the basis of their race. We always hear about people being put down on the basis of their race if they are people of color, but what Nick Cannon is doing is putting down white people on the basis of their race. He's saying they're less than, they don't have a soul. He says that they're savages.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals.
They're closer to animals. Okay, this is the kind of stuff we can expect from Nick Cannon. Now, it's one thing when you hear some wacko like Louis Farrakhan say this. It's another thing when you hear some wacko like Nick Cannon say this. But the kind of stuff that these guys are saying is not just heard from these kooky guys in the culture, or even a professor like Lionel Jeffries, talks about the sun people and the ice people. This kind of stuff is being heard at newspapers like the New York Times, where we've seen multiple articles about abolishing whiteness, the problems of whiteness. This has now infiltrated the mainstream left, what used to be called the mainstream liberal left. Nick Cannon did get fired. I guess he had a contract with Viacom CBS, and he did get fired here. Here's the statement that Viacom CBS sent out. Viacom CBS condemns bigotry of any kind, and we categorically denounce all forms of anti-Semitism. We have spoken with Nick Cannon about an episode of his podcast, Cannon's Class on YouTube, which promoted hateful speech and spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Because part of this video is he spreads this theory, also spread by the Hebrew Israelites and other black supremacist groups, that black people, American blacks, are the true Hebrews, the Israelites, the Jews of the Bible, and that the Jews, who we all know as Jews, they're like the fake Jews or something like that. What's so striking to me about this statement from Viacom CBS, it only condemns in specific terms bigotry against Jews. But all the bigotry that we just heard in that video was against white people generally. He's talking about but that's okay. Viacom doesn't condemn that bigotry. That bigotry is perfectly fine. In fact, in many quarters of the popular culture, it's encouraged, which is why you hear these calls to abolish whiteness. You hear things like toxic whiteness. You see city governments now forcing their employees to go through mandatory re-education programs where they can learn about their terrible whiteness and how they're racist, and they've got to get rid of all of their white privilege.
Nick Cannon gone, and now a lot of people are feeling mixed reviews saying Nick Cannon should have kept his job at Viacom CBS. Some of y'all saying that Nick Cannon should have got fired a long time ago, but Nick Cannon just being Nick Cannon. So that's how it rolls. That's how he operates and stuff. And a lot of people were being backlash on him about him having kids, and why we say that when he got kids. Nick Cannon don't care. He's an entertainer. Entertainers do. Sometimes entertainers ain't supposed to be role models, but they end up being the role models because they're on TV and they're supposed to set the example. But in some cases, Nick Cannon don't look at it like that. All right. Thank you all for watching this edition of Virus. We talked about Nick Cannon losing his job at Viacom CBS and wilding out. I've been your host, Kendrick Dick, saying so long, and we'll see you next time for this another edition of Virus.